Inside your body, there's a sentinel, always alert, always scanning, always protecting. This is what we call hypervigilance or suspiciousness. It is a powerful, complex response, not just a gut feeling, but something that is deeply rooted in your nervous system. Studies have shown that hypervigilance or suspicion is tightly interwoven with anxiety and depression, and in more extreme cases, it can even escalate into psychosis and paranoid disorders. The regions of the brain responsible for threat detection light up when suspicion is triggered, highlighting just how primal and intense this response can be. It's a product of your survival instincts, often tied to past emotional injuries and unhealed wounds. Suspicion isn't something to suppress, nor should you feel ashamed of it. It's a response that comes from the unconscious, one that's trying to protect you, to keep you safe. Before we move any further, I'd like to explain something crucial: the emotional body. This part of us that feels doesn't obey the same rules as our physical body. When we experience trauma, whether from our childhood, relationships, or past wounds, the emotional body essentially freezes at the moment of hurt. Instead of growing and evolving, it remains stuck in those emotional patterns of pain, replaying old scripts over and over again. And so certain feelings, like suspicion, can feel so intensely familiar because they are rooted in these unresolved experiences that are still alive. It's like the emotional body becomes locked in the past, unable to evolve. The beauty of this insight, however, is that it means we aren't broken. It simply means we need to address those parts of ourselves, those emotional wounds, so that we can help them heal and reintegrate them into our present selves. Doing so allows us to evolve past these frozen states and step forward into the present, no longer carrying that heavy emotional baggage. Healing is not about erasing the past, it's about integrating it and using it to grow, to become more whole. Coming back to suspicion, please take a moment to consider: what if this feeling isn't a warning about the world outside of you? What if it's something much deeper, pointing to unresolved parts of yourself? Parts that have been shaped by past pain, past betrayals, and wounds you might not even realize are still there. I've seen it countless times in my practice, in my own life, and in the lives of those around me. That instinctive flinch when kindness is offered, that sudden withdrawal when someone shows care. It feels almost automatic, like a reflex. Your system says no. This feels wrong, even before your mind knows why. I've felt this too, the tension in my own body, the tightening in my chest, and as I've worked with others, I've watched them shrink back, always scanning for hidden motives, never truly allowing love or kindness to land. But here's the thing, that feeling isn't about the other person. It's your body signaling that there's something inside of you that hasn't healed yet. And if you're willing to lean into it, there's so much to uncover. Take Paula, for example. She came to me broken, brilliant, but fiercely protective of her wounds. Her entire system would react violently to genuine care. Her breath would catch, her muscles would tense. "I know they want something," she'd say, her voice sharp and defensive. Nobody gives without expecting something in return. This wasn't paranoia. This was a heart that had been hurt too many times, a mind trained to believe that love always comes with a price. As a child, Paula had experienced a deep betrayal. When she was just 5 years old, her father, the person who should have been her safe haven, left her and her mother without warning. He had promised to be there, yet disappeared, leaving Paula to wonder if love and trust were just fleeting illusions. That betrayal didn't just shape her view of her father, it shaped her entire relationship with men, with love, and eventually with everyone around her. She grew to believe that every form of affection, every offering of kindness, must have disappointment attached. As she grew older, this belief turned into a guarded suspicion of men, and then eventually of everyone, until she was living in a world where kindness always seemed suspicious and love always felt conditional. In turn, she began behaving in ways that invited others to act in the exact ways she feared, reinforcing her belief that people couldn't be trusted. She'd push people away, only to feel validated in her suspicion when they withdrew, all the while thinking, "See, I was right." What Paula didn't realize, though, was that suspicion wasn't a clear-cut indicator that something or someone was bad. It was her body's way of signaling that there was something inside of her that still needed to be confronted. That gut feeling wasn't about others, it was the sign of an old wound, a trauma-colored reaction that made her interpret all future love through the lens of past pain. What we can say for sure is that suspicion is deeply rooted in the nervous system, a system that has learned to be hypervigilant, scanning for any sign of danger. And yes, this survival mechanism served a purpose, just like it did for our ancestors. Back then, betrayal could mean death. Trust was a luxury, and those who survived were the ones who could detect danger quickly. Today, even though most of us don't live in a jungle with conflicting tribes, modern technology has amplified suspiciousness through our screens being filled with curated realities, teaching us to doubt what's real, to question authenticity, and to keep our distance from others. Also, it is worth mentioning that across cultures and social classes, suspicion takes on unique forms. Some societies teach vigilance as a protective measure. Others suppress suspicion, hiding it away in silence. But the truth is universal. Trauma, whether individual or collective, has made some of us see love, kindness, and trust as risks. We've been conditioned to believe that kindness could be a trap, that love could be a disguise for betrayal. But here's where we can begin to decode this. What if suspicion wasn't something to fight against, but a key to our healing? Let's look at suspicion through a new lens, not as a permanent barrier, but as an invitation for inner inquiry. Instead of constantly scanning the external world for threats, what if we shifted that heightened awareness inward? When suspicion arises, instead of running away or shutting down, you could pause and ask, what in me is being triggered? What unhealed part of my past is reacting to this moment? However, this is not a moment to trust your memories blindly. The mind has a way of protecting itself from trauma. It represses memories, minimizes them, or distorts them in ways that make them seem less significant. For example, you might think to yourself, but my dad didn't really abandon me, my mom was as good as she could be. These thoughts can be deceptive. The actual trauma may feel so small, so insignificant to your current adult mind that it might slip by unnoticed. Your mind does this to shield you from pain, but it also keeps the wound from healing. The key here is to recognize that even if your mind doesn't fully recall the extent of the trauma, your body does. Your body holds the memory, and it signals you when those old wounds are being triggered, even if your conscious mind doesn't fully acknowledge them. This is why feelings of suspicion or discomfort can feel so overwhelming at times. They are rooted in the memories your mind may have forgotten, but your body remembers. It's time to listen to your body and trust that it holds the key to understanding your deeper wounds and unresolved emotions. So, to help you really answer this question, look into this. Is there a pattern, a repetitiveness in your life where suspicion arises again and again? Do you notice that the people around you seem to trigger similar feelings, or that you tend to view the world through a lens of suspicion no matter who you encounter? If this keeps showing up, it's a sign that the suspicion isn't about the current situation. It's something deeper that's still unresolved within you. And this is key. If we constantly see the world with suspicion, it only means we're reacting from unresolved pain, from an unhealed pattern. This isn't about the external world. It's about healing what's inside of us that keeps projecting fear onto everything around us. The lens I'm proposing here transforms suspicion to where it no longer has to be a reflex that locks you out of connection, but become a tool for self-awareness. That heightened vigilance, once scanning the world for threats, can evolve into the ability to see clearly, to discern what's happening inside you and what might still need healing. Now, that doesn't mean we ignore real threats or danger. Not every moment of suspicion is based in trauma or past pain. Sometimes suspicion is legitimate. Sometimes it's a valid warning that something isn't quite right. But let's acknowledge something crucial. Right now, you don't know for sure. Just like when you don't speak a foreign language, you don't yet know how to decipher the truth of a situation in the moment, simply because that discernment isn't operational yet. So what do you do when you don't know? You start small. You take your time, you observe, you gather more information, and you stay open. The same applies to suspicion. Instead of reacting automatically, slow down, observe the sensations in your body, and give yourself the time to discern whether this is something that's part of your old wounds or a true signal of danger. The key is to distinguish between the two. Is this a reaction to something old, or is it a genuine call to protect myself? This is where discernment starts to really develop. The more we understand our triggers, the more we can separate past trauma from present reality. And when we do, we gain the freedom to respond in healthier ways. Start by tuning into your body's response when suspicion arises. Ask yourself, what is really being threatened here? Is it the person in front of me, or is it an old wound from long ago? Don't just analyze this question with your mind. Feel into it deeply, in your body. Do you recognize these sensations? Are they familiar? Are they the same feelings that arise every time you're on the verge of healing something? If so, you might be touching on one of your core wounds, the unresolved pain that your body has been carrying. These sensations, though they feel raw or unsettling, are actually your body's way of signaling that you're reaching the root of something that needs healing. They are not just random reactions. They are the echoes of past hurts, the emotional residue of wounds that haven't fully healed yet. By becoming aware of them and allowing them space, you can begin the process of untangling the layers of suspicion and start to open the door to real healing. These sensations are a guide, leading you toward the parts of yourself that need attention, love, and integration. Track your progress not by how trusting you become, but by how conscious you are of your responses. Celebrate the moments when you can hold both protection and openness in the same breath, when you can allow yourself to feel the tension, yet choose to stay open to connection. Your suspicion isn't a flaw, it's a guide, showing you where you need healing, and when you become more conscious of it, you'll find the freedom you've been seeking all along. I want to leave you with these questions. Aren't you tired of living with walls up, constantly scanning for threats, never really letting anyone in? Aren't you exhausted by the endless cycle of hypervigilance, that tightness in your chest, the constant physical warning signs that make you feel like you're on high alert, even when nothing is wrong? Isn't it draining to constantly question people's intentions, to never feel fully relaxed around those you care about because you're waiting for the other shoe to drop? Don't you long for real, authentic connections? Friendships where you don't have to hide, love where you don't feel like you have to guard your heart. What if you didn't have to live in a state of constant tension? What if your body didn't always feel like a battlefield, where every smile, every kind gesture is perceived as a threat or a trap? Don't you want to experience what it's like to truly be open, to feel the warmth of love and connection without the weight of fear or suspicion in your body? Isn't it time you stopped living from your wounds and started living from your heart? Aren't you ready to let go of the constant fight for survival and embrace the peace that comes from healing? Don't you want to feel free, to be truly seen, truly loved, without the constriction of old fears? To be open, loving, and connected in a way that feels natural and nourishing? Isn't that the kind of life you deserve? This journey starts with a simple question. What if the suspicion you've been carrying for so long is not just a defense, but a call to return to yourself, to heal, and to live from a place of freedom, love, and deep, unshakable trust? Don't you want that? You can have it if you're willing to lean into it and allow yourself to heal what's been holding you back all along. As a counselor, I am here to support you on this journey. Healing is not a path you have to walk alone. If you feel ready to explore these deeper layers of suspicion, trauma, and healing, I invite you to reach out. Together, we can work through the barriers that hold you back and begin the process of rediscovering trust and openness in your life. You deserve to experience freedom, connection, and the peace that comes with fully embracing who you are. Let's take the first step together. Thank you for watching. This is Ayla, signing off.